วันนี้เราจะมาถอดรหัส or as we say in English, today we're going to decode how a 2.5 millennia old Buddhist text actually provides the ultimate survival guide for our modern digital world. Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you've been feeling the absolute strain of algorithm overload, the anxiety of fake news, or just the sheer exhaustion of our hyper-connected lives, you are definitely not alone. And surprisingly enough, the solution to our hyper-modern problems might just lie in some seriously ancient philosophy. The source material we're digging into today is this really fascinating piece of research that takes the Sāmaññaphala Sutta, which is a foundational text in Theravada Buddhism, and applies it directly to the ethics of artificial intelligence. I am so incredibly excited to guide you through this because honestly, it totally shifts how we think about technology, human agency, and our own minds. So, picture this. On one side, we have the ancient kingdom of Magadha, and on the other, the modern metaverse. Now, I know that might seem like a bit of a stretch at first, but the researchers draw this brilliant direct parallel. Back in ancient times, Magadha was experiencing this profound crisis of faith, massive social conflict, and just deep, deep mistrust among its people. Kind of rings a bell, doesn't it? Because that is exactly the crisis of trust we are experiencing right now in the metaverse and across all of our digital platforms. The scenery has completely changed from ancient palaces to digital avatars, but that fundamental human struggle for truth and connection, it's exactly the same. Section 1. Paranoia in the Digital Age. To really understand how we navigate this modern digital crisis, we first need to look at a perfect psychological mirror from the past. And this brings us to King Ajatasattu. Now, the research proposes that we shouldn't just view him as some mythical figure trapped in a dusty religious text. Instead, think of him as a fascinating psychological and political case study. This was a guy who possessed immense worldly power, yet he was entirely consumed by paranoia. He was suffering from this massive moral wound after committing the ultimate betrayal, literally killing his own father for the throne. And this combination of immense power coupled with deep ethical trauma, it perfectly reflects humanity today. We are technologically more advanced and powerful than ever before, yet as a society, we're plagued by loneliness, extreme distrust, and violent online division. In a way, we are the king, sitting on our digital thrones, totally paranoid. Okay, let's dive into this. This brings us to the absolute burning question King Ajatasattu asked the Buddha. Are the fruits of a moral life visible today? In his era of total chaos and betrayal, he desperately wanted to know if being good actually yielded any real, tangible results. Fast forward to our current AI generation, and you could argue this is the most urgent question we face. I mean, in a world of algorithmic manipulation, massive data harvesting, and cyberbullying, does ethical behavior still matter? Can we actually see the benefits of digital morality in our daily lives? Section 2. The Post-Truth and Deepfake Era. To answer the king's question, the ancient text introduces us to some classic villains and their ancient ideologies mapped perfectly onto modern tech. Think about the ancient teacher who rejected moral accountability. Well, that's exactly today's evasion of moral responsibility by certain AI developers. The ancient distortion of reality, that is literally our modern post-truth culture. And the fabrication of illusions, that's the exact definition of deepfakes. And this brilliantly illustrates a vital point from the research. The real danger of artificial intelligence isn't the machine's intelligence itself. The true danger lies in how these ideologies reduce human agency and allow us to just ignore the consequences of our actions. Which brings us to a really crucial concept, defilements, or in Pali, kilesa. Traditionally, these are human flaws, right? Greed, anger, delusion. But in the digital age, the researchers argue that technology lacking ethics acts as a brand new delivery system for these exact defilements. You can think of unmindful technology, malicious code, or algorithmic bias as the modern digital equivalent of ancient human flaws. The algorithm didn't invent anger, it just optimized it and fed it right back to us. Section 3. The Buddha as a mediator. So if AI is essentially amplifying our worst traits, how in the world do we fix it? Well, the text introduces the Buddha not as a religious deity, but as a master mediator. His toolkit is amazing. Deep listening, practicing non-judgment, revealing new possibilities of life, and facilitating confession. And this is exactly how we need to approach our digital crisis. What this does is create a genuine safe space for true healing. It applies what we now call restorative justice. So instead of just banning people or punishing bad online behavior with cancel culture, this toolkit focuses on actually healing that moral wound we talked about earlier and restoring harmony to the community. And the result of that restorative justice is Sāmaññaphala, which translates to the fruits of asceticism. But let's strip away the ancient terminology for a second. The researchers emphasize that peace in this context is not some abstract, mystical concept reserved for monks meditating on a mountain. No, it is a highly visible, highly practical result of ethical practice that spans external social harmony, internal mental calm, and deep wisdom. Simply put, it is the tangible peace we all desperately crave when we finally close our laptops and log off at the end of the day. Section 4. The REI-AI model. This is where ancient philosophy directly meets modern engineering. Now, what's really interesting about this concept is how flawlessly the modern ethical breaches of AI map onto ancient Buddhist concepts. Privacy violations aren't just a boring legal compliance issue. Fundamentally, they are breaking sila, the basic moral precepts. Algorithmic bias perfectly mirrors nivarana, which are the mental hindrances or prejudices that cloud our judgment. And deepfakes, that is simply musavada, the ancient sin of lying, just amplified by 1 trillion calculations per second. By giving these incredibly modern problems ancient names, we suddenly realize we already have the framework to solve them.
Let's see how this builds into the REI-AI model step by step. This is essentially the traditional threefold training adapted specifically for AI. Step 1 is sila, or morality, which translates directly into robust data protection. Step 2 is samadhi, or concentration. In the tech world, this means creating non-distracting designs, building interfaces that actually respect our attention, rather than constantly hijacking our dopamine. And step 3 is panna, or wisdom, which demands algorithmic transparency and fairness. It's really a comprehensive, practical roadmap for ethical tech development.
The ultimate goal of the REI-AI model is to make AI a kalyanamitta, which translates to a good friend to humanity. I absolutely love this framing because it doesn't just demonize technology. The researchers aren't telling us to smash our servers and go live off the grid in the woods. Rather, they're advocating for the design of AI that acts as a supportive, wise companion, AI that elevates our human experience, rather than acting as a behavioral manipulator just trying to extract our data and ruin our peace of mind.
Section 5. Peace beyond the algorithm. As we wrap up our analysis of this fascinating research, we really need to shift our focus from the software running on our devices to the software running inside our own minds. Here are the true foundations of digital peace. First, it has to start with right view, or samadhi, that fundamental human intention to use tech for good. Second, it must prioritize healing our divided societies over just punishing our online enemies. And finally, it requires combining real forgiveness with strict accountability. So the absolute crucial takeaway here is that true digital peace cannot be achieved by a simple software update or a fancy new machine learning model. It absolutely must begin with human intention, personal discipline, and deep empathy.
Let me read this really powerful quote from the conclusion of the research, because it defines exactly what success looks like for a modern digital citizen. True Sāmaññaphala in the AI era is human freedom over algorithms, a stable mind amidst a flood of data, and living together with compassion. That right there is the ultimate goal. We don't just need a faster processor. What we truly need is a freer mind. Which leaves us with this final, lingering thought to reflect on today. Do we control the algorithm, or does it control us? The ancient texts tell us that we actually have the power to choose our path, to heal our moral wounds, and to find tangible peace in the present moment. The framework is already there. The choice of how to apply it, however, is entirely up to us. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep questioning, keep learning, and stay focused.